we all also know that arms don't rain from the sky. They have to come from the only source, that's Pakistan. I have time for one more question, which goes to Professor Balraj Madhok. Would you please elaborate about plebiscite, whatever way you want to take it, just a brief reply.
Since time is short, I will repeat to you what talk I had about this subject with the Assistant Secretary of State of the USA, Mr. Philip Talbot, in '64. I was here as a guest of the government, and there was a discussion on the subject with the Secretary of State. He put me a straight question. Don't you agree that a majority of Muslims in Kashmir, they are for Pakistan, they want Kashmir to be part of Pakistan? My reply was yes. He was rather surprised by my reply. Then he put me a second question. Then why India doesn't allow Pakistan to, Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmir to go to Pakistan? Then I asked him, may I put you a counter question? I said, don't you agree that people of Mississippi and Alabama, majority of them want to get out of USA? As was going on a civil rights bill at that time, and they wanted to get out of USA. He said, yes, they want to get out of USA. Then I asked him, why don't you allow them to get out of USA? His reply was, how can that happen? They are part of a sovereign state. Our constitution doesn't permit secession. I said, what is true of Alabama and Mississippi is true of Kashmir also. And what is true of USA is true of India also. We too are a sovereign state. And our constitution also doesn't permit secession. Then I also gave him the security reasons. The Kashmir Valley is the only area where big air bases can be made. At that time, US had not better with China. China was enemy of USA also, and Pakistan and China are allies. If they are allowed to come together, not only security of Jammu, but security of Delhi also is in danger. No government of India can afford to do that. He said, Mr. Madhok, you are so candid and so convincing. How is it that your case has not been put the same way by any other Indian leader, for which I had no reply? The question of plebiscite doesn't arise. Is Pakistan prepared to give plebiscite to Pakhtuns? Is Pakistan giving the right to plebiscite to Sindhis? If you allow this kind of right in a federal state, no state will exist. US will break up, Canada will break up, Pakistan will break up. Therefore, any talk of plebiscite, any talk of determination to any part of a sovereign state is absolutely bunkum, and to entertain this idea itself is something which is beyond my comprehension. Thank you.
I think our other guest from India.
Some countries be based on religious fundamentalism, no.
Do you think anything justifies killing, rape, and genocide of a minority community like Hindus in Kashmir?
I don't think that anything justifies the killing of minorities or majorities. I don't think that anything justifies murder and rape and arson, regardless of who is committing the rape and killing and arson and who are the victims. It's what I tried to say earlier is it's the consequences which are evil and which should be opposed with whatever sources they come.
Some of these questions which have been written here are statements. They are not necessarily pinpointed questions, so it's a little difficult to handle each question as such. Well, sir, I will just try to read it, and you see how you can do the best justice to it. You say politicians in Pakistan are emancipated, which they talk about in private quarters, only in Pakistan. and talk about a dialogue with India, provided that India initiates it. You seem to see some positivity amongst Pakistanis and perhaps not among Indians. Would you like to comment on this part?
No, what I hoped I had said was that the dialogue that I'm involved in has an equal number of Indians and an equal number of Pakistanis, and I hear encouraging words and comments and ideas from both sides. I would also observe that I did not describe, and I certainly didn't mean to describe, Pakistani politicians as emancipated or Indian politicians as emancipated. I think, as a matter of fact, I said the opposite, that there is less specific discussion of new ideas among politicians on both sides than I've heard from among intellectual businessmen and some government officials.
This is a question about your research, sir. Does your research project address ISI's strong grip on Pakistani's policy planning and its influencing resolve to destroy, unflinching resolve to destroy India? I don't think.
No, I'm sorry. The research that the specific research that I said I was doing had to do with India alone and not with Pakistan. The role of the ISI, I really cannot speak to. The Pakistanis tell me that in the last year, their perception is that the influence of the ISI has diminished. I cannot vouch for that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard this from a number of Pakistanis who would strongly like to see the influence of the ISI diminished. And so when they tell me that they think that it has declined, I'm inclined, my instinct is to say there must be something there, but I cannot address that anymore fully.
This is a $500,000 question. What policies or set of actions would you recommend to the Clinton administration to resolve this problem?
No, I'm going to duck that one totally.
And that's why I said it was $500,000 question. He has taken the fifth. How can we encourage, this is my dream too, dialogue between Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Hindus when the Kashmiri Muslim will bring a gun to the table?
I'm not saying it's easy. I think it is most difficult when you have large numbers of people in the room at the same time, because there is an instinct on everyone's part to play to the gallery, whatever the particular gallery is. That's the reason that I said I think that the way to start this is one-on-one, or two-on-two, or three-on-three. Work with small groups, and from those small groups, then see if you can spread out and build from the bottom up. If you start off and say we're going to have 50 Hindus and 50 Muslims talking together, I will guarantee that nothing will ever come out of it. That's impossible. What you have to do is to build a base of support from within each group, and that can only be done by starting small.
I think Professor Pandita has first-hand experience.